Fans. Everyone needs them. This week we speak to fan Brian Garcia, who's taken the collection of Oasis memorabilia to another level. This is Anyone Can Play Guitar, the podcast for musicians and music lovers that takes you behind the scenes of the music industry. This week is brought to you in partnership with MGR Music. Ever wanted to learn an instrument, hone your skills, or pick up something completely new? You can get so far by yourself, however professional guidance can make all the difference. With a network of tutors right across the UK and rates starting from as little as £15 per hour, visit mgrmusic.com now to get started.
Hello and welcome to episode Nifty 50, all about Patrick said not to laugh. I was testing you there. So with me, Ben, and him,
James.
Last week we covered mobile apps, James.
We did.
We spoke to Kevin Brown of GigRev, where he hit us with your favourite subject with some great stats and sound logic about why a band might want their own dedicated app.
I think if you look at a great example of this is Taylor Swift. She's got about 76 million people following her on Facebook. The problem is, people liked her 10 years ago. They were probably aged 12, 13, 14. They've grown up now. They might not like her now. So how do you get to a situation where you can sort of cleanse that database and figure out which of those followers are actually fans?
This week, it's all about being a fan. In season 1, we had a fantastic double episode with Mark Duffett of Chester.
Fantastic
episode.
episode.
Oh, yes, with
Thank
Mark
you.
Duffett of Chester University. I liked that episode, that two-parter.
It's a doubler.
Yep. So Mark had studied music fandom at length. Big Elvis fan as well. This episode covered loads of things. It was talking about tradition, consistent image, being memorable, playing to your audience as an instrument, using your music, being a star, being a fan, entertaining people, ideas and values, collaboration. Just kept on going.
It did.
I mean, this
It
guy...
was a double episode.
Well, exactly. It needed to be.
Yeah.
This guy knows fans.
To the 60s and people like the Doors. I mean, the Doors have got a bit of a problem because they're not easily marketable in kind of genre terms, but what does Jim Morrison does? He when he talks to the newspapers, he says things like, we're erotic politicians. Well, at that particular time in society, that was a bit shocking and interesting and kind of generated discussion. And so sort of speaking good copy, I think, is part of this process, or can be part of this process of entertainment.
James, this week we speak to a fan, a super fan. Someone who really gets passionate about a particular band, and that band is...
Oasis.
And the idea about this, James, is to try and help musicians get into the mindset of a super fan, a dedicated follower of their music. We've also squeezed in a snippet from Jimmy of Jimmy Eat World, which really fits in nicely. So, today you can expect a bit of this from Brian.
You almost have feelings for that song. As funny as that may seem, you start bonding with that song, you start relating to that song.
Remember, a great way to support the show is to go on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts and give us a rating and a review. It really does make a massive difference for the show. Now, on with the episode. Here we go, the music fan. We all know they're key, but what makes a music fan tick? What makes them truly relate to an artist? Let's introduce you to Brian. Now, it wasn't always Oasis for him.
And up until '94, I mean, you think my walls are obsessive Oasis now. My bedroom was corner to corner. I remember getting color copies, and this is color copies in 1993 when nobody had a color copier. So I don't remember where I would get all my pennies from. And I went and got color copies, and every inch of my room from the top to the bottom, above my door, everything was covered in Kurt Cobain. And I was just so I don't know if it was obsessed. I wasn't obsessed. I was just a massive fan of the music because I immersed myself in everything that Nirvana was. I learned about the history. I learned about where Kurt came from. Where Chad Channing was the original drummer. Then Dave Grohl. just everything about Nirvana. Like I read books. I read the book Come As You Are. Everything. I remember sitting in geography class. I would be sitting in geography class, and so instead of paying attention to my teacher, I was writing the lyrics to all of Nevermind and all of Bleach.
So passion is clearly something that is key here. What drew him to Nirvana in the first place?
Right. It was. I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's like anything in life. It's like if you're passionate about something, like when you live and breathe and you believe and you feel and you eat, sleep, and drink what you do, it will sell. And people know what is real, and they can feel what is real, and they feel passion. And I'm not saying that other bands, aren't passionate. Please don't get me wrong there.
Yeah.
If anybody who's listening to this, like, oh, what are you saying? My band is we're not passionate about what we do. But it's just maybe it was just the torment maybe in Kurt that was able to transform, almost become something tangible. You could actually feel his spirit coming through in that. Like, it's like, wow, like if you listen to a track of Nirvana, like you listen to him scream, it's not screaming. It's like that's he's feeling that.
Yeah, it's powerful.
You listen to Aneurysm, and it's like even a cover band can't do that. Yeah, you can scream in it, but whatever it was that was in his voice, like you felt it, and it hit you. And when you're passion will sell itself, and not only will it sell itself, but when something speaks to your soul, it'll change your life.
It's that passion and honesty that Jimmy Eat World have built their fan base around. Jimmy first talked about making the most of opportunities to get yourself in front of different types of fans, or at least potential fans, before going on to make the point about writing songs that work for you.
You can be smart about opportunities that come to you, and you can definitely do things that work against you.
Yeah.
You can definitely shoot yourself in the foot, like that's easy. But as far as like some sort of magic formula that will advance you, that's elusive.
Yeah.
That's very elusive. I think the best thing that you can do, besides like obviously taking advantage of opportunities that come your way, things that get you in front of new people,
okay,
or get you in our case, maybe get you in front of people that are familiar with you but maybe haven't seen you play, or haven't like checked out anything that you've done in a while.
Right.
Because like we're still in a place where we can pick up new people, but we can also get back old people.
That's cool.
Yeah. But I don't know. Like it's a really tricky thing. Music changes every year, and people's tastes change every year, and I think the foundation of it all is just really basic things like be proud of your own work.
Okay. Yeah.
Like what is within your power, really? That. Not much else.
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
So it's like, if you're being, pretty vigilant about making sure that, think about who you're doing any of this shit for.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if it's for some imaginary demographic of listener, like, what are you doing? I think
I totally agree.
You start making choices based on the approval of some imaginary listener, and I think like that is going to and then any listener is going to hear that and pick up on it as being kind of desperate, or not really. It's just harder to connect with something like that. And I think like if you're honest with yourself and you're doing work that you think is challenging and that you think is rewarding and serves the vision that you have, then I think the right people will pick up on that.
Yeah.
Maybe not everybody, but the right people will pick up on it, and and they'll be, they'll get into it for their own reasons, and they'll make it theirs, and then it'll be, for us, I think that's been the trick of sticking around for so long, is that we focused on putting music out there like that, with that sort of mindset.
The point around getting old fans back is an important one as well.
and something that resonates with Brian's story later on.
But back to Brian. We all know what happened next with Nirvana. So in 1994, not long after Kurt Cobain took his own life.
Maybe May, June. I'm not really sure of the month. I was watching MTV, and there was a commercial that it was a montage of different music at the time, and I remember specifically it was Stone Temple Pilots. It was Portishead Sour Times that was on there, and the very last song as the outro was Live Forever. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting little song. I was like, and when that song came out, I remember going to the record store and asking the guy, I was like, hey, man, I remember his face, like, to this day. I wish I knew who he was, because this was the guy that, basically told me who Oasis was. He's like, it's a track on that one. He goes, I remember buying it. I remember buying it that day, and I remember going home to listen to it. I listened to that track, and I listened to a few others, but I'd like to think that was the defining moment for me, but it wasn't. I went home, I listened to it, I was like, yeah, it's a great track, great CD, great album. I put it up. I was still into my Nirvana phase, and it wasn't until a little bit later on. I mean, I was enjoying it from time to time, but it wasn't until What's the Story, Morning Glory came out that it was like a shotgun blast in the face when I heard Don't Look Back in Anger for the first time.
One single song got Brian on the Oasis bus after he'd already had his appetite whet.
I just remember how powerful that song impacted me. And I remember to this day, I went home to watch it live for the world premiere on MTV. I went to my uncle's house because he had one of those huge box big screen TVs with the lines running up and down with that big plastic screen. So I watched it on that. I remember I was sitting on his blue recliner, and I remember when I watched that video, I was like, it was always like a time warp. It was like the room got sucked into like this time warp, and I was just like locked into the TV screen. And something, I don't know if it was the imagery of the British culture in that video that affected me so much, because it was so different. The music was a bit different. It wasn't grunge, it wasn't Soundgarden, it wasn't Pearl Jam, it wasn't Nirvana, and it was almost like it was so like almost hopeful, and just like it was a different energy. It was like I use the analogy, it was like a cold shower, like when you're waking up and you just put that drops a cold bucket of water on, it's like you wake up. And after that, I literally never looked back, and I never it's almost like I never looked at a band the same way as I did Oasis from that day.
The key component here is that a song, along with its video, was able to transport the listener to a different place and time. Take fans out of their day-to-day environment and create a completely different world to take them to. It's pretty powerful.
So that video, when he was talking about Don't Look Back in Anger, it was interesting that for him, living in the US, that gave him a real insight into British culture. Whereas for us, looking at that, we'd have experienced that video in a completely different way.
Totally.
And may or may not have had the same impact. Was there, again, something I don't know in terms of musicians starting out, that's obviously a very polished video that had a lot of money thrown at it.
But, a lot of money.
But people produce content videos all the time these days. It's interesting to think of how a fan will actually look at that and what it'll actually, say to them.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think for like a British fan who maybe say they were 18, 19 in 1995, 96, when What's the Story was at the height, they look at that video of all the models lining up and it's like Brit pop in a 3.5 minute pop video. Whereas,
it's different, isn't it?
It's totally different, because they're like, across the pond, it'd be a completely different thing, thinking, is this what
everyone looks like in Britain?
Is this what's happening? Yeah, it tells two different stories, doesn't it?
So overall, it's a real personal thing for big music fans.
Yeah, it's almost the music, the songs became personalities, and everybody feels, and everybody we're social beings. So when you feel like music is talking to you, it's like, wow, it's like you almost have feelings for that song. As funny as that may seem, you start bonding with that song, you start relating to that song, or a band, or an image, or how you felt, or where you were when that song came on. Like all of that was and then the imagery, it's like, wow, it's like you have sleeves like I still think definitely maybe it's one of the greatest sleeves of all time.
The record sleeves bring us back to imagery and how important that is to a fan. As we've already mentioned, the Don't Look Back in Anger video had a massive impact on Brian. Would the song have touched him in the same way if the video was different or even didn't exist?
I don't think so. I know it was a great song. I remember hearing it for the first time. I was like, wow, you know, like, wow, what a song. But together with the video, it's like, as an American, I'm looking at the TV, I'm going, oh, a funny little car and a funny little man and this little John Lennon glasses wearing guy, and you know, look at these girls dressed around like, you know, in mod clothes. Like, you don't have that in the U.S. You just don't have that. And it was so cool. Like, seeing that was just cool. It was like, wow. It's like, it's not long hair. It's not grunge scene. It's not pop. It's not metal. It's not anything we've ever seen before. And I was like, this is really interesting.
This week is brought to you in partnership with MGR Music. Ever wanted to learn an instrument, hone your skills, or pick up something completely new? You can get so far by yourself, however professional guidance can make all the difference. With a network of tutors right across the UK and rates starting from as little as £15 per hour, visit mgrmusic.com now to get started.
Right, time now for the regular Good Cause slot this week, obviously.
Yep.
It's Brian's choice.
Yep.
So, coming up in the second half of today's episode, we'll cover his collecting of Oasis memorabilia, but there was a time where that took a backseat in Brian's life for a good reason. Here's his Good Cause.
Yeah, the MDS Foundation, which is a mild dysplastic syndrome. It's caused of bone marrow failure, which I actually suffered from, which is another reason which I didn't even get into that was kind of out. So I had some aplastic anemia, but it all got sorted out. So there was a downtime in my life there that I was going through. It's funny, like, I didn't even talk about that because I don't know, I kind of like blocked that out because it was so bad. But that had a lot to do with my, you know, the collecting stopping, because I had a lot of personal health bills and problems and all this other stuff. So I had no time, energy, or anything to. So it's like it's a pre-cancer.
Yeah.
But you know, thank God everything's good. Family's good. I'm good. Everything will be okay from here on out. So.
No, good stuff.
Like I said, I'm very blessed, and that makes this whole collection thing even more extraordinary to me personally, because there was a time that nothing was important, just staying alive was important.
Find out more at mds-foundation.org, who are now 25 years into their dedication to fighting MDS. Now, on with the episode.
So, once you've become a fan, what comes next?
Well, so at that time I was, I was into music, a lot of music at the time. Oasis puts out Be Here Now. Be Here Now is a great album. I remember the day I bought that. But I was already such a massive Oasis fan, it didn't affect me the same as What's the Story, Morning Glory did. So I was already cruising at 100 miles an hour at that time. So it wasn't that big of an impact. So it didn't really feel different.
Okay.
It wasn't until later on, their later albums, I went off to college. I went to Austin, and I went to college. And being in college, I was going to school with blah blah blah. So I didn't have much time for music anymore. I was very dedicated to my studies, and my quote unquote fandom, my fan card kind of went down. It wasn't until Don't Believe the Truth. I just gotten out of college. Don't Believe the Truth came out, and I remember I bought that CD. I think it was May 26th. I can't remember. May something. Whenever it debuted, I remember I was in New York City in Times Square. And I was with my buddy, and I walked into the Virgin Megastore, which was in Times Square at the time. It's not there anymore.
Yeah.
And I remember listening to the CD on the headphones. I was like, wow. I remember listening to The Importance of Being Idle, and I was like, wow. That refreshed my. It burned that fire that I've always had, but it just fueled it to like this massive flame.
Back to the point Jimmy made. It just shows that even when someone who has been a massive fan, you can't take their constant fandom for granted just because they've initially loved you. Key songs or moments can get fans back. Brian's fandom had peaks and troughs. Although that said, he still had a level of dedication even when he wasn't at the peak of his fandom.
In those years that I say that I kind of dropped off, it's funny because like my college backpack, I remember it was a burnt orange backpack, and on it I specifically put an Oasis patch on the very center in the back. And even now that I've graduated from college, people that I still keep in contact with, the first thing they remember about me is that I was an Oasis fan. I'd always talk about Oasis, but I wasn't just living, breathing, eating, sleeping Oasis all the time like I was like just before and a little after. Like I did go see Oasis while I was in college. I actually drove to Boston, which is like 3,000 miles away from here, just to see a show.
Wow.
Yeah, took a road trip up to Boston. I saw them in Austin when they played City Limits. But it was always there. It's just I didn't have the time, the resources, more of the time. I didn't have the time to dedicate to Oasis like I did. And it's not that it wasn't there, because I always remember listening to, Don't Put the Weight of the World on My Shoulders, which is a B-side. And I always remember listening to that song on the way to school, because I would I'd take public transportation to school. And I always remember specifically listening to that song and how much I loved that song. And Oasis did get me through that was like the soundtrack to my college career. But the fan craze wasn't there as much.
Then Oasis split up. This had an impact on Brian's fandom, which sparked the whole collection process.
It wasn't until Liam started talking about BDI that I really started to believe it. And I was like, wait, this can't, this isn't happening. Like, is it? And then, Liam started announcing BDI, and then Noel and, High Flying Birds. I was like, wow. I was like, I can't believe it. So, that had a lot to do with it, them breaking up. Because I do remember buying promos. I bought, the Odd Thing Here, the Vox box. I had little promo coins and stuff like that. But it was a breaking up. And the fact that you had the explosion of the internet and eBay and YouTube, it just made collecting so much easier.
What was it that tipped him into this phase of fandom?
You know what? I literally I can't say what moment it was that it was just like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to start. I'm going to mentally make it a point to build a collection. I remember ordering some little promo things here and there on eBay. Dig out yourself playing cards. I was like, oh, those are kind of neat. A little matchbook here. And then when you buy small things, you never know who's selling them. And then all of a sudden you'll get a message from somebody who bought something from me, like, hey, I know I sold you, to Stop Crying Your Heart Out promo lighter. I have a few more things that I think you might be interested in. And I'm like, yeah, what is it? It's like, oh, did you know I have an award, or did you know I have a display, a shop display, or did you know I have a printer's proof, or whatever it was. And I was like, what's a printer's proof? And they're like, oh, it's this, this, and this, it's a microdot, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow. And just the more I would get into it, the more everything, it was a snowball. First it started out like just a little grain of sand. And it started gathering momentum and became a tennis ball. And that tennis ball grew into a volleyball. And that volleyball turned into a bowling ball. And that bowling ball turned into a hot air balloon. That hot air balloon is just something I can't even control anymore. I literally cannot control it. Like, I have things like I have to buy storage units. I have to literally buy containers. I have to put things in frames that have UV protected glass. Sleeves with acid-free backing. All sorts of stuff. I have an amp that doesn't even fit in my house. So I made a post a few days ago that says, I don't even own my collection. My collection owns me, and it literally does. And I think about this quite often. Like, what was the tipping point from going from, a casual collector to hardcore? And I can't put my finger on it, because I remember when I got my second Vox box, and Vox box is a rare promo item that supposedly there's only 100 of. I remember I had one, and I was like, okay, if I just get a Union Jack guitar, I will be happy and I won't want to collect anymore. Anyway, I got the Union Jack guitar. Okay, I'm still not happy. There's another box for sale. Okay, oh my God, I have two of 100. Oh my God. And that's exactly what keeps my fire going. It's because I'm always chasing that unicorn. I'm always chasing that pot at the end of the rainbow. There's people will be like, oh, well, you know, I've been asked like by personal, you know, people in my, you know, immediate life. And they're like, well, when do you think it's, you know, when are you going to stop collecting? And the answer is like, I won't. I just won't. I won't stop collecting. I don't see whatever it is. I don't see an end to it because I'm always chasing that next thing. I remember telling myself, if I just owned a guitar that was used by Noel Gallagher, I swear on everything, I promise I will stop. I got one. And it didn't stop. I got another one and it hasn't stopped. And, you know, I've got drum kits and basses and amps used on tours and on music videos and drum kits used on recordings and just the original equipment they used to record their first demos. And it's just like, it doesn't stop. And there's always something more. And it's always, I don't know, it's just, I find it all so interesting.
So that's quite a list of things, James.
It really is.
But I've got an important question. Where do you go next when you have multiple storage units of band memorabilia?
Now what I want to do is but since I do have so much stuff, like I almost want to preserve. That's exactly what I want to do. I want to preserve Oasis in its physical form. I want to preserve the history of it. I want to be the curator of everything that was and is Oasis.
Yeah, I can see a museum opening here.
Yeah, I literally have, and that's my end goal. I'm actually working with Brian Cannon. He's the sleeve designer for Oasis. He and I are very good friends. And the end goal is to open a museum, so we can bring, because there are things that are in my collection that nobody has ever seen. But there are some very, very, very exciting things that I have in my collection that I don't even believe that I own. That will be, you know, shown one day here very soon when hopefully it will all go on display for people to enjoy. So, and it'll tell the entire story. I mean, I have stage use set. I mean, when I say stage use set list, I mean a ton of stage use set lists, guitars used on stage. Just it goes on and on. Recording equipment. Lyric sheets. I have the last ever Oasis item that was ever signed as a band with pictures. I have the first piece of equipment they used to ever record their demos. So I have the very first item to the very last item. And everything in between, anything that you can imagine. I've got NME awards. I've got amps. I've got gold discs. I've got the Hat and Wonderwall that I'm looking at. Right next to me is the drum kit used to record Be Here Now. To my left, I've got Andy Bell's basses, you know, hanging on my wall, handwritten lyrics, just gold platinum awards, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. But there's some really, really special items that I want the world to see that are going to come out. So that's why if you look at my Instagram page, it's kind of slowed at the moment. I'll still keep posting, but the big items are still yet to be seen. So I'm really excited and looking forward to. You know, for people to enjoy, it's not even about me. It's not about what I have. It's not about the collection that I've amassed. It's about bringing it to the people.
Well, it sounds like it could be one hell of a museum. If you're a musician today, what sort of things should you potentially look to produce? What does actually make a good collectible thing? Mm-hmm. Brian loves collecting everything.
That's a great question, actually. And it's funny because if you ask me, personally, I like one-offs or closest to one-offs, and I think that's the reason this collection took the turn that it did. There are other people who they love collecting the vinyl or they love collecting the promo CDs. There's a whole group of really, really great people on the internet, especially on Facebook. And I think it all depends on the collector, because I've met a lot of collectors who have the same passion as me. They just enjoy collecting and keeping different things. Like me, I've always liked, I consider like everything I collect like pieces of the tablets that Moses had, you know, physical items that were literally there. It just blows my mind, like museum pieces, artifacts. Like something about that is so special to me, and I've always been like that even as a child. Like, I was like, wow, that was there.
There's more in the full episode of Brian on other things he has collected, which is really interesting to listen. The pieces that he's missed out on, the relationships he started to build with some of the band members.
Indeed.
So how much time does it take to be a fan, collector at this level?
Yeah, so it's funny you say that because, all right, so let's take today, for example. Today I was on the phone with my buddy, and we were discussing, some Oasis memorabilia that he was thinking about selling. So we spent literally 45 minutes on the phone. He's like, I'm going to make you a video. I'll send you pictures of this. I'll send you pictures of that. Let me know what you think about a price. We'll come to an agreement. So we spent 45 minutes on the phone. I haven't emailed anybody today specifically, but I will actually about some things that I'm missing on some other things that I purchased. So that'll take me, 5 minutes. So, maybe an email a day, an hour conversation on the phone, this interview, which is an hour and a half. Like, let's say today I don't have a package to go pick up, but if I had a package to go pick up, another hour getting the door tag, going to the post office or going to FedEx, waiting in line, signing for it, coming home, opening it, storing it, throwing the box away. All of that takes time, money, energy, gas.
In an average week, how many? I don't know if week is the right sort of time period to gauge this on, but how many pieces a week or a month are you typically collecting?
Oh, back when I was really starting to get things, I was getting about 3 or 4 things a day.
Right, wow.
A day. And only on Sundays I wouldn't get it because the post doesn't run on Sundays. But I have a few pictures that, I took thinking, it got so bad. Like, there were packages coming to my door that I forgot I had even bought.
So State Champs.
Yeah,
they've got a neat little way of interacting with their fans and still making a bit of money on the side to support their living, which I quite liked.
I did like that, yeah. Cool. So one of the things I want to talk about is just fans and fandom.
Yeah, sure.
And you did guitar lessons.
Yeah, I do them through Skype.
Yeah, so what was the inspiration behind that? Do you still do it? How did it go? Like, how does it all work? Because I think that's amazing.
I do still do it. The inspiration, I guess, I don't know, I just think I was toying with the idea of doing a YouTube channel where it was like I would upload how to play our songs because, quite frankly, people don't play them right. And the worst thing that people do is they convince themselves that they play. I used to do it too when I was young. I play on my favorite band. It's like no, that's definitely it. Yeah. I'm like, that's not it at all.
Fuck you, Tom DeLonge. That's how you play.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, that's dumpweed. It's like, no, it's not, man. And I was talking to my girlfriend about it, and she's like, what if you just gave lessons? And I was like, that's pretty smart. I mean, also I charge for the lessons, And to be very real, we don't make all the money in the world, as you might imagine. So it's a way to help pay my bills while I'm home. But it's a fulfilling way for me to do that. Yeah. And that's what's important. I also when I'm home, I deliver food through delivery apps like Grubhub, and I used to do Uber Eats, stuff like that. Kind of like your Deliveroo. Yeah. Except not on a fucking bike. Because again, we don't make all the money in the world, and I got bills to pay. So gotta support the dream somehow. But I thought, what better way than to be able to do it with my guitar and something I'm passionate about, and to be able to bestow years of wisdom and knowledge onto the next generation.
Perfect. So that's a whole load of dedication.
That's yes.
It's a lot of
family commitment.
Yes, and we've dedicated a full episode to it because I think it's important. It just shows that if you're passionate about your music and it can touch another person, the level of passion they can provide in return could be substantial, James.
Yep.
Having that honesty to what you do can really make a connection with your fans.
Additional news snippets from the interviews you've heard today will pop up in other episodes later in the season. And at the end of Season 2, we'll release each conversation with all of our guests in full as standalone episodes. As a reminder, if you like the show, please take a few seconds just to give us a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts from. It makes a huge difference in helping us grow our audience and promoting the show. Now, coming up next week, the topic is forming and joining a band.
When I read music autobiographies, this is one of the favourite parts of an autobiography for me.
So even if you're a solo artist, chances are you'll need help from other musicians along the way.
Definitely.
We speak to loads of established musicians about how they formed their group. Take Dave Keuning, who co-founded that little band, The Killers.
It's actually interesting because that is sort of how The Killers started. It was because I didn't know anybody.
All of the show notes for today's episode can be found at acpgmusic.com, along with our back catalogue of episodes. If you like what you hear, or perhaps have some improvements or specific guests you'd like us to consider, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at info@acpgmusic.com or hit us up on social media. Keep supporting upcoming artists, and we'll catch you next time.